So I think when we talk about PlayStation, it's nearly impossible to talk about the platform without also talking about the exclusive content and the exclusive games that are offered on the platform. Now, the reason why I wanted to have this discussion today is because I came across an article, or I guess an interview, you could say, that I found particularly interesting, and it really made me wonder, do most people feel the same way as this PlayStation executive or boss, whatever you want to call him? Do people feel the same way about PlayStation and its success here in 2019? So let's go over this article a little bit and then we'll talk about it. It says there are many reasons for why the PS4 became as dominant as it did this generation, but as far as their retaining their dominance goes, there's one very compelling differentiator we can all point to: their exclusive content. By putting out compelling, appealing exclusive PS4 games, Sony ensured that even households would eventually want to jump on board with the PS4 to get a taste of its games it offers that you can get nowhere else. And that exclusive content is the PS4's true key to success, according to the head of PlayStation in Italy, Marco Saletta. Speaking to Twin Infinite, Saletta pointed to PlayStation's exclusives as the key to their success and the way to go to help continue the brand's reign at the top for the future as well. There have been trends that help the adoption of the platform over the years. The exclusives on which we worked in a timely manner, shown that this is the way to go, he said. Exclusive content is the way to go to improve. I think we still have a few years ahead of us for the PS4, and will work both in engaging the community that already owns the console and to invite new consumers within our world. He also responded to the question of whether single-player games do better on PlayStation versus multiplayer games. According to him, both do well on PS4. Again, the real topic is content. We had a highly successful release like God of War and Spider-Man in Italy last year, and those are traditional single-player games. That being said, I can tell you that the engagement we have on titles like FIFA or Fortnite in our country is absolutely respectable, even compared to other European countries. Our guiding light is content. So, obviously, he's just speaking about Italy. He is the PlayStation boss of Italy. But I feel like what he's saying here could definitely apply universally to the whole PlayStation brand. You know, we know that PlayStation is a global brand and it's very popular worldwide, more specifically in some countries than others. But I'm just curious what you guys think. Do you think that what he's saying here is true, that pretty much the key to PlayStation's success lies within its exclusive content? When it comes to my opinion on this, I think he's absolutely 100% correct. We're kind of entering this shift within the gaming industry, right? Where a lot of people are starting to believe that exclusive content needs to go away. Now, as to whether or not that needs to happen, I don't really know if I'm at liberty to say. Like, I don't know if I can see the future of gaming so clearly that I can say definitively what does or doesn't need to happen. But rather, what I can do is look at the way things have been done up until this point and look at where we are now and just try to gauge what has worked and what has not. Obviously, I'm not an executive at these companies, so it's not my job to, figure out the path forward and how to maximize profits and all that stuff. But what I know for sure, looking at right now, is that the PlayStation platform and the PlayStation 4 console is at the top. And when I have to really try to think about the reasons for this, it really does come down to exactly what the PlayStation boss had to say here of Italy, talking about the exclusive content. Because I try to imagine, just for a second, what if PlayStation didn't have any exclusive content? What if all of PlayStation's games were available on other platforms? Would the platform be as successful? It could be. I'm not going to sit here and say definitively no, it couldn't be, because PlayStation would still be a brand at that point. The money still would be going to Sony. But when it comes to the console side of things, when it comes to the hardware side of things, I honestly believe that PlayStation would not be anywhere near the 100 million consoles sold mark if they allowed their big exclusive games like God of War, The Last of Us, Bloodborne, games like this, Spider-Man, to be played on other platforms such as PC or whatever else, right? Or if they put their games on PlayStation Now, similar to what Microsoft does with Game Pass. And what this really comes down to is I think the people who don't really want exclusive content or don't care about it, I think those are individuals who just don't really care where they play their games, whether it's on a piece of hardware or not, and that's fine. I mean, everybody's entitled to feel how they want to feel, to like what they want to like. But again, it just comes down to looking at what has worked, and in my opinion, he hit the nail on the head here, man. And I'm glad that the higher ups at Sony and the people who are in charge have this understanding that this formula works. And I've been talking about this so much, and I feel like it's just more prominent than ever for me to be talking about this because I'm coming from Xbox, right? And I still, I still enjoy Xbox. I mean, we did get some pretty big news yesterday. It's just not news that's super relevant to me personally. Hearing that the Master Chief Collection is going to PC, and xCloud is apparently going to be launching some trials this year, something like that. And there's definitely some people who are very excited for that. Me personally, not so much. But it's so interesting to me to see the different directions that these companies are going in. And I think at the end of the day, what's going to determine the success or the failure of any of these gaming companies, it's going to be us. It's going to be the gamers and what we choose. And I don't blame Sony for believing that this exclusive content that they have, the exclusive games that they create and bring to the platform and give people a reason to go out and buy their hardware, I don't blame them one bit for thinking that that is the key to their success, because it is. It is. I mean, I just don't see people talking about the PlayStation brand the same way they do now if games like God of War, Spider-Man, Bloodborne, just some games that I played, not Spider-Man yet, but I plan to, The Last of Us, Uncharted, games like this, even smaller games that they release, right? Like, I just don't see people talking about PlayStation or holding it up or being as excited for it as they are now without these games. Would they still talk about the brand the same way if these games weren't exclusive to a single piece of hardware? Yeah, they probably would, but it would effectively make the hardware just, I don't want to say useless, but I mean, let me tell you, if PlayStation's games were available on other platforms, I just don't think Sony would have a very good time selling consoles the way they are right now. Because even though there are a lot of people tell you that they don't care about sales numbers or anything like that, I think if you're a hardcore gamer and if you really care about the industry and you're into it kind of like we are, you need to pay attention somewhat to this stuff, because it's really a good indicator of what you can maybe expect from these companies going forward. Like Sony, for example, they have found tremendous success both financially and just commercially, right? With critically, I mean, with the formula they've established with their big exclusive AAA games, and it's made them a lot of money, and it has translated to a ton of PlayStation sales, and gamers have responded. Gamers love it. The reason why gamers are picking up PS4 and making that their platform that they play on, I'm sure it's not just because of exclusive games. Like, there aren't 95 million PS4s out there just for exclusive games. But it starts with the exclusive games. It starts with what does your platform have to offer that the other platforms simply don't. It could be features as well, and we've talked about the trickle effect before where, one person buys it and then 3 of their friends buy it because they were the first one to buy into it, and maybe they were the first one to buy into it because of an exclusive game like God of War, right? That's kind of how these things work. And so, I think what this ultimately comes down to is that I think that Sony has the right mentality, and I think that what this Saletta guy here has to say is 100% correct, and I back that up. And I think that it would just be in Sony's best interest to continue to create this exclusive content. Now, whether that in the long term, that exclusive content remains solely exclusive to the PlayStation console. I think as of right now, I think for the foreseeable future it will, but I could see Sony being forced to potentially have to take some notes from Microsoft if Microsoft ends up being very successful in their endeavor to try to get their games everywhere all at one time. You see a pretty fine line drawn in the sand right here where Sony has the idea that they are still in the business of selling hardware and caring about selling as much hardware as they can. Microsoft no longer cares if they sell hardware, and because of that, they don't mind putting their games everywhere. And even though that is of course pro-consumer, I'm not trying to make it sound like that's a bad thing for gamers, but when it comes to traditional console gaming as we know it, it's not so good for that, and it's really kind of taking some big steps forward to make console gaming somewhat obsolete to some people. But I think hopefully Microsoft will continue to support that, but I don't know. I look at the community. It's not just about me, right? Like, I look at how gamers are responding to the moves that Sony's making versus the moves that Microsoft is making, and the mentality behind both of these companies and the executives who run these companies. And this is where I feel like, if I'm being honest, most gamers are showing that they like Sony's way better. Like, you can talk about how pro-consumer the stuff that Microsoft is doing and how pro-consumer it is, and that's great, but at the end of the day, it really just comes down to what the gamers respond to more, right? Like, what are the gamers going out there and spending their money on, spending their time on, right? And spending their time talking about. And it seems to me that the majority of it has been PlayStation, and it's, we can give credit where credit's due to Microsoft, but at the same time, I just see a lot of negativity towards Microsoft. A lot of it has come from me myself because, there's been a lot of things Microsoft has done with the Xbox that has frustrated me. Maybe it's because I'm stuck in my old ways. I don't know. There's a lot of people who tell me I'm wrong with my stance and how I see things, and I'm viewing things the wrong way. Maybe I am, but I can't help how I feel. And there's just a lot of things that Microsoft is doing with Xbox that doesn't make me feel very good, versus I'm over here on PlayStation, and everything they're doing, almost everything, is making me feel pretty good over here, and I'm really enjoying it. And so I just came across this article, and I found it very interesting, and I just wanted to have a discussion here and really gauge what you guys think. Do you agree with what he's saying here? Do you think that exclusive content is the key to PlayStation's success? Do you think PlayStation could still be as successful as it is without it? Do you think the PS4 or the PS5 console would sell well without content being exclusive to that piece of hardware? Do you think it would still do all right, or do you think it would just kind of like peter off and really not do well at all? And also, what do you think the future of PlayStation is? Do you think that this is a viable business model for Sony to continue in the long-term future? I think it is. I think if gamers continue to support them the way they have been, this could be very viable for Sony for a very long time, a lot longer than I think some people may realize. But at the same time, it might not be. Sony might have to make certain shifts and changes sooner than maybe we anticipate. But only time will tell. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, or if you agree with anything I have to say here. It really helps. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon so you can be notified anytime I upload a new video. And be sure to share it out on top of all that, because it helps as well. But until next time, guys, take care.